Hello, friends and listeners, party people. Welcome back to an episode of Party XP. I'm your host, Lakan, and this is another solo episode. We were supposed to have an episode here with Jeff, but unfortunately, his son got sick again, and so Jeff's being responsible and taking care of him. Hoping little man feels much better very, very soon. So for this episode, I'm going to go over a couple things that I've experienced or has piqued my interest in the last couple weeks. And then I'm also going to do a topic that is between Jeff and I. This is something that I'm really interested in, or at least I'm the only one of the two of us who'd be interested in this topic. The VTuber Awards. So I'm going to be doing same thing what we did in the previous episode where we did nominations and predictions. So I'm going to do that one solo. I'm going to be doing that one in a little bit after I get through my first topic that I'm going to be focused on for the first little bit here. In the previous episode, I talked a little bit about having the Emulation RG35XXH. Again, not sponsored, but I did pick up one of these little handheld emulators to, kind of have as a secondary item in my backpack or my messenger bag or just leave in the car. So I always have something on me, say I'm stuck somewhere like waiting for someone, or I go to the dentist and I'm in the waiting room. I wanted to talk about this in regards of the other handheld game systems that I own. This is probably the smallest one of all the ones that I do regularly use. So it's the RG35XXH, and then like my new 3DS, and then my new 2DS XL, and then my Vita. I also have a phone set up as an emulator, and then of course my Steam Deck, which is like the biggest of my portable devices. So you probably heard the beginning of my experience with the Emulation device, where on first boot up it wouldn't go. It kind of got stuck in a small boot loop. I plugged it in to a power cable to let it charge for a little bit while I was getting ready to go for work, and then thinking it just needs a little bit of extra juice upon the first startup, right? So I let it sit for a little bit. I was getting ready for work. I come, get out of the shower, brush my teeth, get dressed, and then let me see if I can turn this thing on. It gets past the boot screen, so cool. And then I see it's loaded with a bunch of games, which again, not a huge fan of because that's the whole weird gray zone with these games where they're distributing a bunch of games, which is illegal, versus just setting out a machine and then I'll just put the ROMs on myself, right, of games that I have dumped or whatever. I took it to work. It got stuck in a boot loop. I tried whatever I could to try to reset it, and then it just would not go past the boot loop. Even after plugging it into a little charge brick, nothing. It was charging, but it wasn't actually running past the boot screen. So I'm thinking, oh crap, I said shit this back. This is going to suck. I took a quick look at the SD card that came with the device, and it is just a blank 64 GB on the card. No branding, no nothing. So I decided I'm going to flash a software onto it. I ended up using MuOS. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced, MuOS, because it has some port master availability and capability on it. Relatively simple and clean user interface, and I don't need all the crazy bells and whistles. I just wanted to to handle my games and just kind of run a nice, clean, simple UI. So after finally setting up the new SD card, one of the branded ones that I have, like a SanDisk, and then I think it was like a PNY one, I popped a secondary SD card in there because it has two slots. The secondary one is my game library. The first one basically just runs the OS, and then boots right up. No problems, no issues. Gets past the boot screen, has a new boot screen because it's you running the new OS on it, which is cool. And then I just started loading it with all my games, and I'm trying to like limit test this thing. I'm curious to see what console this thing can handle up to, because I know, if I recall correctly, before I got rid of that no-name SD card, that it had up to PS1 and like Dreamcast games on there, and I think that was it. So, the N64 games, so that's kind of like its limit from what it looked like. And so I'm running, NES games, SNES games, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, a couple N64 games, Dreamcast games, a couple of the lighter titles, some PS1 games. I even threw a couple, and then to test the limits of it, I threw on a couple GameCube and PS2 games on there. Usually those ones are kind of like where the limit is on these smaller handheld emulators, with these weaker chips. Usually the next step up is like, the 100 and up device, like $100 to $150 devices where it's kind of like has like a proper phone chip in there. I'm messing around with it. Won't run GameCube games, won't run PS2 games at all. Even if I tried to throw on the specific core for it, it just not recognizing it whatsoever. I'm not sure if I screwed something in the setup, but even then, afterwards, I realized after playing some PS1 games, some N64 games, like Excite Bike 64 or Gran Turismo, where there's a lot going on the screen and it's doing a lot of calculations for the multiple characters aside from you. Like, if you're playing like a excite bike and you're kind of by yourself, not too many issues. The game runs perfectly fine. But then the game runs at like half speed or slows down when it's rendering you and then the 5 other racers on the same course as you. So, you can hear the audio slowing down, not cracking, but slowing down, definitely running slower. Same with like Gran Turismo or, anything where it has to render more than just you, the main player. That it starts to slow down. But then I play something like Dino Crisis or Tekken 2 is fine. I think Tekken 3 was okay. I have Tekken 6 from the PSP on here, which runs perfectly fine. So there's different games that do run well and certain ones that don't. But for the most part, I've kind of like realized, okay, PSP, PS1 is kind of its limit. That it can handle relatively okay. And then even from other videos I've seen, this thing can chug a little bit when playing some of the more, the harder titles to emulate, like the God of War series on the PSP consoles, or even like Perfect Dark. A little bit of slowdown here and there, but for the most part, it's playable. The racing games, not as much because you can really feel it in those games. So in comparison to having like, my PS Vita, which, runs PS Vita games, PSP games, even PS1 games, natively basically. This is a nice device to have in terms of sheer size and portability. This is great to have. I do like this thing. It's been about 3 weeks now since I've had it. And, again, it's kind of found its little home in my bag, in my car. You know what I mean? Like, even like, when I'm at home and before I go to sleep, I'll decide, I'll play like a level or two of like Super Bomberman 2 on the SNES versus, busting out the full Steam Deck and, playing like Balacho or something in bed. So it's definitely like a nice little piece to have. I do recommend these things. Again, I recommend if you are a little bit experienced in regards to emulation, flash your own SD card, throw a different software on there because they do have like a customized version of the Anbernic software that runs a little bit better. I'm sure the SD card, the quality of the SD card also matters too here. Instead of getting stuck in boot loops, I'm sure that helps as well. There's like a whole list online you can find for like what they recommend for what you're using it for, ease of use. So if you're just a beginner, you just want to play versus you're an experienced tinkerer in emulation, then use this one because you can do a lot more customization and stuff. For the most part, for this one, I wanted to keep it relatively simple, leave whatever cores and emulators are on there, just let them run for what they are. Gives you the option for a couple of the other ones too, but for the most part, I just wanted to keep it as simple as I possibly could. Now, in comparison to bringing like my new 3DS or my new 2DS XL on the other side of having authentic hardware, using my new Nintendo 3DS or my new 2DS, the main purpose for those is to be playing my DS games and my 3DS game because it can handle the cartridges and of course even if I just have the file on there, which both of those are modded, and then even my Vita is modded too, where I can acquire games online because they're impossible to find or to purchase or whatever, especially because the stores are now down. So those consoles live on through piracy, and that's kind of like one of those. Again, I don't know if I've been consistent on this, but like I try not to just straight up pirate games if I can. I try to acquire them if I possibly can, and if it's legal or whatever. But the networks are down for those consoles now. Yeah, it has become genuinely prohibitive to try to find and then acquire those games. For those are dedicated Nintendo devices, again, mostly for the large library of games that are specifically made for those consoles that haven't been ported over to the Switch. And even then, they were ported. The experience may not be exactly the same, so I kind of like experiencing games in the, especially if they have some cool features in the first manner that they were actually developed in. Having a pretty large library on those, and then also having the cartridges is always still nice to have for those consoles. So again, a little bit bigger, a little bit more meatier, a little more comfortable for me to use. They serve a different purpose for me because I'm not really playing a lot of retro stuff on there. Those are still kind of like devices where if you bring them to a convention, someone could see you have one. You can get a drum up conversation with somebody and wax nostalgic a little bit about the games you played on there, and then see if they have any recommendations for you to look out for, especially something you may have missed. And they serve a similar but different purpose. Same thing with the Vita, where I'll bust that out and throw it into my bag as my secondary device aside from my Steam Deck, where I'm playing mostly PSP. Vita games are pretty still rough for in terms of emulation, from my understanding. I mean, it can be done obviously if you have a pretty good PC, but I know like stability and all this other stuff. And I've heard, at least I've heard that PSP emulation is still kind of working in its way to getting to a point where it's comfortable to do. So, having the Vita there is nice to have, right? And then, of course, I can run PS1 games that have been ported over basically natively. They run really well on the Vita, and it's nice to have that there, too. And some PS2 games as well on the Vita can definitely be handled. Like, I remember playing the Jack... I guess technically it's a port, right? Yeah, so I was playing like the Jack and Daxter collection on there. So, it was nice to have it on the Vita and have it on the go. Again, similar purpose, but it is more for like the specific Sony titles. Same with the DS being the Nintendo titles. The Ambernic has kind of become just like, mostly retro stuff, anything from Sega, anything from early PlayStation, all the NES stuff, anything that's easy to run, and then a couple ports from Portmaster, which again, very cool because you actually take your files off of your computer. So any game that you own, you can actually put it on here, and it allows you to play them on the console, on the little handheld console itself. Moving away from the dedicated consoles now back to consoles that have been repurposed for use with emulation stuff. I took my old phone, which is an LG V60, and I ended up wiping that after it got stuck in a boot loop, and I got it repaired, and I got a new phone. I got that one set up as a emulator as well too. So I had set up like what is it? Nether SX2. Was it Ether or Nether? One of those two, whichever one the one is that was modded after the original creator basically announced they're stopping working on it. That Redream, Dolphin, Lemoroid, and RetroArch, and for basically everything else. PPSSP for PSP emulation. That is still, as of right now, like aside from my Steam Deck, the most powerful and the most all around, I guess, in terms of like my emulation devices, where again, my Ambernic is kind of dedicated to being like, oh no, this is like for like low power / retro games, right? For the most part. And then if I'm looking at my dedicated devices, my Vita, my new Nintendo 3DS or the 2DS, dedicated for Nintendo titles. The phone kind of just handles everything because I think it has an older chip in there now. I believe it's the Snapdragon 865, I believe, which was a flagship chip a couple years ago, but still very strong, still very powerful, and it handles everything up to like PS2, GameCube. I haven't tried Xbox on there. I don't know how far along Xbox emulation has come on mobile devices. I don't think there's a Cemu app for phones. I should probably check it out, but it handles basically all those games, no issues, no problems. Like I've played like Metal Gear Solid 2 on there, The Bouncer. What else have I played on there? Like Kingdom Hearts, with a very little bit of slowdown occasionally, but for the most part, the phone handles all the way from NES all the way up to like PS2, GameCube, no issues. Very, very seldom do I experience slowdown. And even better for the experience of that, I use the Backbone controller, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before on a previous episode of like fun little purchases and knickknacks that I've bought for myself. It has it's just a good overall experience. If I just need something to like smaller than a Switch, smaller than my Steam Deck. Sure, I'm carrying an extra device around now, right, and then a controller to go around with it. But it's nice to have something that's a little bit of a bigger screen and a little bit more of a powerful chip that can play a bit of everything. And a lot of these emulators, the retro emulators and the front ends usually also have different options for cores or which emulator you want to run for a lot of these games, and a lot more settings available too, which is always nice. Have the resolution scaling or the multiplier. The controls mapped relatively simple, right? They recognize it as most of the apps recognize the Backbone controller and also know it as a specific input device. Say you wanted to Bluetooth the controller into it, it also recognizes an Xbox controller. It does the same thing if you plug in a Backbone. The emulator will recognize, oh, there's a Backbone controller plugged into the device right now. And these are just different experiences, and how I've been looking at my time emulating on dedicated emulators, and then a phone that's been set up as an emulator, and then now the Steam Deck, which is like obviously like a full on PC, right? It's basically like a custom laptop chip in there. Handles basically everything I throw at it. No slowdowns, no hiccups, no nothing. It just runs good. Everything that I throw on there, up to like I think I can. I would think you can get PS3 up there, maybe. I've seen PS3 emulation has kind of gotten much better recently. But every game that I played on there, from NES, NES, PSP, PS2, GameCube, no issues. And because you have Dolphin or whatever, you can also have like analog controls, which is nice to have for some of those games that actually require or feel better with analog controls, for the triggers anyway. It's nice to have it on there. Again, Steam Deck is like my favorite thing to carry around with me. But if I don't want to carry around the full Steam Deck for whatever reason, I can always throw in this little hand, the Embernick, or one of the other portable consoles that I have, the 3DSs or the Vita. But yeah, no, it's been a cool little last couple of weeks of messing with this thing and kind of see where this thing slots into my gaming rotation and device rotation. I still haven't got my hands on a Retroid Pocket yet. The guy who I was trying to buy it from online just stopped messaging me, so that sucks. But it would have been nice to pick up one of those. If not, maybe I'll just see if they drop any more in price as we get closer to the end of the year, and see if they do another sale, or if I can find a used one online in pretty good shape that hasn't been beat to hell or whatever. But yeah, maybe I'll pick one of those up. Genuinely curious to see what it's like to have that, like a dedicated emulator device with the phone chip in there, versus a phone that has been reconfigured or set up as an emulator device, with attached controllers onto there. I'm curious to see what it's like, if there's any differences, or do I tend to favor one versus the other. So I just want to see what one of those things are, and kind of see how that fits into the space of handheld emulation for me. So for the next little bit of this episode, this will probably take up the rest of this episode here, but the 2024 VTuber Awards voting is currently happening right now. The show will be happening on December 14th. And I have not looked at these yet, but I'm assuming a lot of the people here I'll know, and then I've seen a couple of the VTubers that I do follow mentioning it on their Twitter that they've been nominated, and asking the fans to vote for them. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do my personal selection and then predictions for the 2024 VTuber Awards show. So this is the second show. The first one was hosted by Fillion, and this one is hosted by Fillion and Shy Lily for this year. And then the award show will feature VTubers of all sizes across numerous categories from any platform and any language. Okay, so let's get started here. The first category is Best Just Chatting or Zatsudan VTuber, presented by Fansly. What's Fansly? I'm not clicking on that. The VTuber that excels in creating, engaging, and entertaining conversations with their fans, socializing, reacting, etc. So this year we have Matara Khan, Cinder, Michi Mochivi, and Saris Fauna. I'm a Hololive simp or a Holo bro, but I do enjoy a couple of the talents here. So I do watch a lot of Matara, and I do watch a lot of Michi. I don't really watch Cinder, but I've seen some of clips of her streams, but I don't really watch her personally. And Saris Fauna, I'm biased. I'm a Hololive fan. Saris Fauna is also going to be graduating at the beginning of January, so I feel like I don't watch a lot of Fauna. I don't really watch her just chatting stuff. I do watch her gaming streams, and she'll chat there too. But I just never really watched her. I like her interactions with other people. They're very fun. She's very witty, very quick. Uh, I'm gonna say just because she's gonna be graduating soon, I'll say I'll give her my vote, and then I think she might win because again, just there's the outpouring of support and the fact that her name is kind of in the a little bit more forward right now because due to her announcement of her graduation. Next category, Best Art VTuber. The best VTuber creating art-oriented content such as graphic design, digital art, animations, and more. We have Raora Panthera, Nino Mai Inanis, Diariku, and Apricot or Fruit. I'm this one I'm heavily biased. I love Raora, I love Ina. Ina is my Oshi. Ooh, I'm gonna vote for Ina. It just feels right. Raora is also like very much so like she's like my immediate favorite when I started watching Hololive Justice. She's very cute, very goofy. She's very comfy. Both of them are very comfy streamers. I'm gonna say again, I'm biased here, but I'm gonna go with Ina, and I think Ina wins. Yeah, yeah, I think that's fine. I'll be happy if Raora or Ina wins for this one. I'll be happy with either one. Okay, next category, Best FPS VTuber. Your favorite VTuber to watch playing FPS games such as Valorant, Overwatch, and Call of Duty. Doki Bird, Shishiro Botan, Fruit again, and Kuzuha. I think last year I voted for Shishiro Botan. A little bit of like a forbidden knowledge, but she used to be a coach for a pro Japanese team for FPS games. I believe it was Siege. So she's very, very good. Doki is also very, very good. She'll like no life or degen a little bit for when she's playing like Overwatch or Apex. I think I'll throw my vote in for Doki. Again, like I think it's just easier to watch Doki than it is to watch Botan because Botan's in Japanese and Doki speaks in English. And then I think this, just because of all the things that happened this year around Doki, I think she has a lot of support with her right now. I think she wins. Okay, next category. Best RP slash ASMR VTuber. The VTuber with the best RP slash ASMR content. Cottontail, Sarah's Fauna, Fallen Shadow, aka Shondo, Nene Amano, and Cinder. I do not watch roleplay or ASMR content, so I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm just gonna go with Fauna, just because again, Hololive bias here, and again, I think she has a lot of support right now because she will no longer be with the Hololive soon. So I think a lot of people are just kind of pulling for her right now. Okay, next category: Best Music VTuber presented by Twitch, the VTuber that creates the best music-oriented content. Mori Calliope, Bao, Obi Kitty Cat, and Suisei Hoshimachi. Why is that backwards? I feel like this is backwards. Hoshimachi Suisei, whatever. Um, I've seen a couple of Bao's covers. She's good. She can sing. I don't really know Obi Katie Cat. Oh, I think there's clips here if I click this little play button. Okay. Oh yeah, cool. I know a lot of people clown on Mori. I know a lot of people her stuff is not really a lot of people's preference or their type of music, especially with the rap stuff. But I think she's actually grown a lot this year in regards to her music stuff. Suisei popped off this year. She had a couple songs go viral, especially with the dances and the animation stuff. Um, you know what? I'm gonna give it to Mori here, even though I don't really listen to a whole lot of her music. I think she has grown a lot as a musician. Her A bunch of songs she released this year, I think it was an album. But like they were very, very different from her usual rap stuff, where she has some actual some singing song stuff, and I think she is very much so grown as a musician. I think this past year. I'll put my vote behind Cali, and I think Suisei wins. I think Suisei's had a bunch of big events this year. Okay, next, Best Tech VTuber. The VTuber pushing the boundaries on VTubing tech to new limits. So we have Vadal987, Doobie3D, Shindigs, and Uoslab. I'm gonna go with Doobie here. I think she has a lot of support right now. She returned? I think it's technically a new persona, but if you know, you know. Someone left Hololive recently and decided to go back to indie, and then this is technically a new persona, different from her previous streaming life. So I think Veda won last year, since he's the pilot or programmer for Neurosama, which is obviously very interesting and very fun to have with an AI powered VTuber. Very cool, and it's very interesting and very funny. But I think Doobie has a lot of support this year from her making her indie re-debut. I think Doobie wins this one. I'll put my vote behind Doobie, and I think she wins. Okay, next is Funniest VTuber. The VTuber whose humor and wit consistently leave you in stitches. So we have Chibidoki, Gigi Murin, Bao, Kozuki Biju, and Kenji. Oh, so we got like three gremlins. Bao is super down bad, and then Kenji was he does some pretty cursed skits and stuff, and some bits that are pretty funny. Um, ooh, okay. So you already know that I'm Hololive biased, but I'm even more biased here. I love Bibu. She's very fun. She's a brain rot gremlin versus Gigi being like an actual gremlin. Ooh, I'm gonna go with Bibu here. I'm gonna go with Bibu, and I think Chibi's really funny too. I've seen a lot of her shit go off the rails. I'm gonna go with Bibu, and then I think Bibu wins as well. Okay, next we have most chaotic VTuber, the VTuber who brings the most unpredictable and entertaining chaos. Kobo Kaineru, Gigi Murin, Pipkin Pippa, and Tricky Wee. This is a good category. I like everyone here. I think Kobo. I'm gonna put my vote behind Kobo again. Hollow bias, and also like she's like the biggest Hollow ID VTuber currently. I'm not sure if she's the biggest VTuber in Indonesia currently, but she's she's very big, and I think she has a lot of support right now since the voting is also international. So I'm gonna say Kobo. Kobo gets my vote, and I think she wins. Okay, hidden gem. Bring attention to a VTuber with less than 100 average viewers this year, so that everyone can see what they're missing. Tippy Hendrix, Long Live Rhea, Your Average Bow, and Yandere Gigi. I don't know any of these people. I will definitely watch the clips afterwards. They do have attached clips to them. I'm not gonna put a voting because I don't have any knowledge of what they do now. But that's cool that they are bringing attention to some smaller streamers here. That's cool. Okay, next up is Rising Star. This VTuber has shown astounding growth throughout the year and demonstrates great potential for the future. Um, Ariel, Yukinoshita Peo, Peo. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Cerber VT and Chacha Your V Mom. Again, I don't know of any of these. They have clips attached to them. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this category just because I don't know who they are. I don't want to just throw something out there. But I would definitely check the clips out and see what they're up to. Okay, next category is League of Their Own. This VTuber is always doing something creative and new, setting themselves apart from others with unique content. So we have Iron Mouse, Hosho Marine, Doobie 3D, Takanashi Kiara, and Gosegu. Okay, cool. Ooh, this is a pretty good category too. I'm gonna give my vote to Kiara. Kiara's been doing a lot of stuff recently that I've been really happy with her. So seeing her do dance streams. She commissioned a couple of unofficial models, which are very cool, um, with some really nice like physics and interactions with the actual model itself. I think I'm gonna give it to Marine for this one actually. Doobie is still relatively new to the scene right now. In this iteration of her, but Marine always has something cooking with like in terms of like music videos and stuff. She like her music videos are kind of sick. She has like full animations and stuff. She hires like actual industry people. She has professional voice actors working with her to like voice a game that she made back when she was in high school, and they're kind of remaking it now, which is kind of sick. So yeah, I think Hosho Marine might win. I'm gonna give my vote to Kiara. Hosho Marine, I think wins. Next up is Mr. VTuber, the VTuber whose fashion sense is as trendy as their content. Ike Eveland, Porcelain Maid, Gavis Bettle, and Shoto. Yeah, I watch every one of these guys. Well, not everyone, but I know of all of them. I watched Gavis. I like watching Bettle. Bettle's very funny. He's pretty chaotic. I'm gonna give my support to Bettle, and I think either Ike or Shoto wins. Shoto is independent, but he has even showed up at like Hololive events with Hololive talent. Uh, he showed up as a guest with the Hololive talent stuff for their convention, that their meet and greets, which is kind of big. The only reason why I think Porcelain is pretty funny too. I've seen a lot of clips of him. Ike. The only reason why I'm not gonna say Ike is because I think there's a lot of people who have currently still got negative connotations with Ike's company. And I think from earlier this year, not a good look for Ike still. Uh, if you know, you know. There's a bunch of drama around Niji Sanji, and Ike was included in the Black Stream. So yeah, nah, fam, get out of here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gavis here. I think Bettle. I want Bettle to win. I think Shoto might win, but I think Bettle can also win it as well. Okay, Miss VTuber. The VTuber whose fashion sense is as trendy as their content. Okay, so it's the same thing, but Mist or versus Miss. Okay, cool. Lisa Helesta, Takanashi Kiara, Ushio Ebi, and Mint Phantom. Ooh, okay. So I don't know Helesta or Ebi. Mint had a return this year, which is cool. Very fun. People were waiting for her to come back, which is very exciting. And again, Kiara is really cool. I'm gonna vote for Kiara. I think Mint might win because again she got a big boost of support after leaving the previous company she was working for. So she has a lot of support currently at the moment. It's nice and fresh still for her. Kiara, I'm gonna vote for her again. Hololive bias here. I like Kiara's stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and vote Kiara, and I think Mint might win. Okay, next, Rising VTuber Org, the VTuber organization on their way to the top. V Allure, V4 Mirai, Vichiban, and Mythos. Okay, so I know all four of these. I know a couple of the talents from each one of the companies. I'm gonna go with V4 Mirai here. I've seen a couple. I've seen like videos of their booths, and they actually have like full on 3Ds, and I think they had like a full on 3D concert as well too, which is kind of cool for their talents. It's kind of sick. And for a small org to be doing that, that's really really good to see, and good to see and good to hear from. I'm gonna go for V4 Mirai, and I think they win. Okay, next up, most dedicated fan base, recognizing the passionate and unwavering fan base who stands by their favorite VTuber. We have the Fallen for Shondo, the Swarm for Vadel, the Dragoons for Doki Bird, and the Jailbirds for Narissa. I think the Jailbirds are probably the most down bad fan base here. I'm gonna go with the Dragoons. Doki's been through it this year, and the Dragoons have stood by her side, loyal. So the Dragoons really put a lot of pressure on Niji when they were wondering where she was. So I'm gonna go with the Dragoons here. They stayed by Doki's side this entire time. Proud of the Dragoons here. I'm gonna give it the Dragoons, and I think they win. Next up, Best VTuber Org. Recognizing the collective of VTubers who work seamlessly together to create engaging and diverse content. Hololive, VShojo, Face Connect, Isegai? I think I saw it. Isegai Idol, and Niji Sanji. Niji Sanji, get out of here. Sorry. Get out. Hololive has had a lot of recent drama kind of floating around right now due to a couple of terminations this year, a couple resignations, 3 graduations as well. So there's a little bit of drama right now going on in Hololive, some rumblings of possibly some bigger things happening down the line. VShojo has been doing pretty good this year. I don't think there's any like major controversies or whatever. So there's that. Face Connect is killing it. They started off as like a small. They would have been like in like the Rising VTuber org category before, but now they're straight up in the VTuber or the main VTuber orgs, I guess. Yeah, Face Connect is killing it. I believe they debuted a JP branch this year, if I remember correctly. VShojo also debuted a JP branch this year as well. Again, I'm biased. I'm gonna go with Hololive. I think they still win it. I think the fan base is gonna turn up for this one. I think it'd be cool to see Face Connect get a win here, or VShojo to get a win here. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about Isekai Idol, and Niji Sanji can just stay in the gutter for all I care. They need to fix shit up. Next up is VTuber Parent of the Year, recognizing the talented and creative individual or team responsible for crafting exceptional VTuber character models that bring unique and captivating avatars to life. We have Nanolis, Diariku, Kayahara, and Twin Tails. I believe Kayahara is Shiori's VTuber mama, and I think Diariku, is it Bao's or is it Shy Lily's? Shy Lily. Okay, cool. I'm biased here. I'm gonna go for Shiori. I love her character design. It's awesome. Yeah, like I know people clown on like the corpo VTuber models being super stiff and stuff, but Shiori's character design just hits so hard. I want Kairi to win, and I think probably I want to say Nano. I'm gonna say probably Diariku wins probably, but I'm rooting for Kayahara. Okay, next is Best VTuber Event. The best VTuber event or concert streamed this year. Iron Mouse Subathon 3 by Iron Mouse, WrestleTuber by Doki Bird, Hollow GTA by Hololive. I believe that was only Hololive, specifically the female talents, and Breaking Dimensions Hololive. Okay, I'm going to go even more biased here. Breaking Dimensions. It happened in New York, which is great. I was at Anime YC the weekend it was happening. Unfortunately, I couldn't get tickets for it. I did still pay for the live stream. I had friends who attended the concert. They told me it was one of the most fun things I've ever been to. It was cool to finally see a bunch of like the Hololive fans in person and meet up and talk with a lot of them, and kind of share our love for the fandom. That was a very fun weekend. I'm heavily biased here. Breaking Dimensions. I want it to win, and I think it wins. I think WrestleTuber was very, very big for Doki. It kind of like allowed her to take back something that was kind of taken away from her with her previous persona. It has a chance to win, but I think Breaking Dimensions wins, and I want it to win. Okay, Stream Game of the Year, recognizing the most beloved game for VTubers and fans alike to stream and watch over the past year. Lethal Company, Liar's Bar, Buckshot Roulette, and Elden Ring. I did watch a lot of Elden Ring streams this year, but it just wasn't. I just don't have any interest in playing it. I've watched a lot of all these streams. I'm just gonna knock that one off, I guess, for me. Lethal Company got a lot of funny content out of it. Liar's Bar is relatively recent, and Buckshot Roulette was, I think, like in the middle of the year. I remember buying it when it was still before it was on Steam. But Buckshot Roulette's fun, and especially now with the multiplayer, it's very, very fun to watch all the VTubers play together now. I'm gonna say Lethal Company. I think Lethal Company wins. There was just so much content that came out of it this year, especially for like VTubers playing the regular game, the modded game, and then like some of them even playing with like large lobbies of their viewers. I think Lethal Company was just very friendly to play with other fellow talents or fellow streamers, and then their fans on top of it. Okay, next one is Gamer of the Year. The gamer with exceptional gaming abilities that stands out from the rest. We have Akemi Nekomachi, Zentreya, Kozeki Biju, Kyla Kowalskia, and Tema Miami. Let's see. I know Zentreya is pretty good at shoot FPS games and just pretty gamer overall. Bibu is a game grinder, and so is Kyla. They're both known for like having like 6 to 8 hour streams on a regular. And Tenma, same thing. She's also very entertaining. When I've watched her streams as well too. She goes on for a while. She's fun to watch when she plays a lot of the games. I'm biased. I'm gonna go with Bibu again. I think Kaela might win this one because she's kind of known for being like a marathoner in terms of gaming. So there might be that too. She's also pretty knowledgeable about all the games she plays. She tends to be like the veteran character, right, or the veteran player versus everybody else, struggling to stay alive. It feels like she's always knows what she's doing. She's never panicking. Okay, next one is LewDtuber of the Year presented by Fansly. Recognizing the VTuber who fearlessly explores more adult themes in their content. We have Project Melody, Cottontail VA, Fifi, and Skew Chan. I don't really watch LewDtubers. I mean, like I know Project Melody. The streams that I've seen of her were pretty wholesome. Same with the Cottontail. I've seen clips of her too and Fifi, but I know Fifi does a little more raunchy stuff as well too, and then obviously Melody does. I mean, yeah, I don't know if they're all adult content creators, but yeah, I guess I don't know. Again, I don't really consume this kind of content. I kind of stay with more of the basic clean-ish side of VTubing stuff. I guess Project Melody. I guess I don't know. I'll throw it behind her, and I guess she wins. Next up is VTuber of the Year. Oh, this is the final. This is the final one. Okay, so the final category is VTuber of the Year, the best overall VTuber this year. Their charisma, talent, and dedication have made them the standout amongst all VTubers. Fullmoko, Iron Mouse, Vadal, Doki Bird, and Tsukino Mito. Ooh, this is big. This is a rough one, actually. This is a good category. Honestly, anyone here can win this category. I'm gonna give my vote to Doki Bird. Again, she has had a rough end of last year, beginning of this year, and her triumphant return was really, really big and resonated with a lot of people in the VTuber community. And I think people are just happy to see her back on her game. I think people are genuinely just super happy for Doki Bird to be doing her thing. I think Fullmoko might win. Fullmoko's very, very big with Hololive right now. The twin VTubers, and I think they reached all their goals that they said they wanted to reach in the beginning of the year, or from their debut. So that's cool. They're genuinely blowing up. They moved to Japan. They're doing streams in Japanese and English. They've had a weekly show on. They're very consistent, and I think it's one of those. I think the reason why they might win is because I think the Hololive vote comes out here. The fans are very, very dedicated for Fullmoko, and they have also the reach to the Japanese fans too, which helps. I'm gonna give a vote to Doki Bird. I think Fullmoko might win. I'm just going off pure vibes for that one. But yeah, I think that's it. Is this the last one? Yes. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and send my votes in right now. Lock those in. This was fun. It's cool to see that this award show is happening again. Hopefully they iron out a couple of the kinks from last year. I feel like last year the pacing was a little off. I remember watching this at work and remember just thinking, man, this is taking a lot longer for it to happen. Or it felt like there was a little bit of dragging between segments of the show. I understand, it's a whole presentation and all this other stuff, but yeah, I think this was also pretty well received overall from last year, and that's cool to see it's happening again. Especially, because VTubers is still kind of a niche topic. And in the stream versus the streamer awards, where they're pretty more general, they have like a category for VTubers, but this is more dedicated for VTubers, and even putting a spotlight on some of the smaller content creators out there as well who are VTubers. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was a little bit ranty and rambly, but again, like I said, it's just me, so I'm just gonna roll with it and see what happens. So hope you guys liked this episode. If you did like this episode, leave us a review, give us a like, share us with a friend. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. I know things are busy and some people feel lonely during the holiday season, but I hope you have a good day.